what I would say is that if you like something moody and dark and funny, it has a lot of humor in it. If you've liked anything of mine, like The Bottoms or The Thicket or Sunset and Sawdust, Edge of Dark Water, there's elements of that in this novel, but it starts on a in the 60s, late 60s, and then the second half of the novel is in the late 70s. And it has to do with a kid that's in a car at night, 13 years old, with his father. And his father is telling him, as they sit on this bridge in the car, this lake that the bridge goes over is covering a town where he grew up. That town was flooded. And they told people to move. Some people didn't, and they flooded it anyway and drowned people. He's telling them about that and where he grew up and met Daniel Russell's mother, because that's the kid's name, is Daniel Russell. And the kid's feeling this is kind of unsettling. And then the father drives them off the bridge into the Moon Lake, and they're rescued by a fisherman and his daughter, a black fisherman and his daughter, in late 1960s. And Daniel ends up staying with them until they can find his aunt. And he finds for the first time a real home, because his mother was distant, his father was strange, the relationship between his parents was uncomfortable. And so now he really finds this couple that love one another and have this girl his age who he kind of has a crush on. And at some point later on, he feels more strongly about her than that. But in the second half, they finally find the aunt who's cold, like his mother was cold. And when they rescued, she asked him, when he goes to live with her, she asked him, "You're not going on a dog, are you?" So it starts off in that way. And then after a certain point, when she dies and he becomes a journalist, because people could actually be journalists back then, there was a job. He becomes a journalist and a would-be writer of novels or nonfiction, whatever it is he wants to do. He gets word from the town where that lake is that they're having a dry spell. And they found the car, and they found his father's body, and they found bones in the trunk. And then the mystery develops from there. I don't want to say much more than that, but I think that should set the tone for it. And I think that it deals with reality, satire, true events, bigger than life events. And it's kind of the typical Lansdale mixture, but I think that the product that develops from that is a lot different than maybe some of the things I've done before, and yet reminiscent enough that you're not going to be, feeling totally at sea either. There's a collection of novellas that are in the canon that I've written over the years that have been collected. I'm not sure what title is going to be. I've had like 3 or 4 I've suggested. And I think it's probably going to be Born for It or something like that. I don't remember exactly. I don't even remember my own title after I come up with it. I always try to move on. Yeah, but anyway, that's coming out, I think maybe next year, or I'm not sure when. But as far as Hap and Leonard novels, that'll be a while. But I do plan to write them again. I have more that I want to say about them, although I don't know what it is I want to say. I just know it's there inside me. But the next novel coming up is probably, besides Moon Lake, which comes out tomorrow, is The Donut Legion, which I'm writing about now, which deals with a flying saucer cult. And as well as other things. It's kind of a combination of things. And I guess it's about how people get caught up in conspiracies and how people get caught up in cults and how people believe absurd things for which there is really no evidence except that which they are willing to believe in and accept. And so I'm working on that. And it's also a suspense novel. It's got a lot of, Lansdalean stuff, if we're going to go back to that term. So I'm excited about that. I'm about 2/3 through that. I have one coming up this fall called Radiant Apples, which is a Nat Love, the same Paradise Guy and Black Hat Jack are both him. Plus Everything Sparkles in Hell is a novella about him. These things have been published, but this is the latest one called Radiant Apples. And it's when he's older and he's working as a porter on the train line in East Texas around Big Sandy and on beyond. But he gets involved in something that takes him out of that and puts him back into, to some degree, the old days.